The Two Clouded Mind Show is brought to you this month by Sife Smoke Shop. Visit them in-store at 1183 Main Street, Asbury Park, New Jersey, or visit them online at goodtimesint.com. Use promo code STAYCLOUDED for 20% off your entire purchase. 20% off flour, papers, glass pieces, bags, and cases, and other high-tech gear that we have no idea how to use. With promo code STAYCLOUDED, you'll never need to shop anywhere else for your smoking needs but Sife Smoke Shop, the perfect vibe.
Hey friends, it's time for another new episode of the Two Clouded Mind Show with your favorite hosts, Chris.
I have a very caveman brain.
And Dave.
He's falling apart in front of our eyes.
Subscribe to the Two Clouded Mind Show on YouTube
See our pretty faces.
and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Two clouded minds, baby. I love you guys.
Yes, yes. I almost said yes, sir.
What happened?
wait.
Chris, what did you say to him? Why did he leave like that?
I used his pronouns incorrectly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, listen, we live in a litigious society, and I didn't, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes,
fair.
I know what that word means, fools.
Good for you.
Welcome back. Happy Wednesday, unless you're not watching this on Wednesday, but it came out on Wednesday. Right now it's Wednesday, fool.
Happy day.
Happy day, happy day. David,
Chris,
how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Thanks for joining us.
You know what? It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure being here. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm trying something new here.
You know what? I figured while I was here, I would sit behind the glass and push some buttons.
Yeah, why not?
I said, you know what? Since I'm here, I may as well.
Since your seat is actually currently being occupied.
By me.
Well, your other seat.
Oh, the other seat. See, I have many seats. I'm a man of many seats.
And many hats.
I consider this to be my seat.
Yeah.
The seat I'm in right now.
I like when you're in here, but I like being able, I don't know, there's something, I like when there's somebody behind the glass. Listen.
Oh, there's almost always got to be somebody behind the glass.
A
you know what I mean?
1,000%.
Even if they're not part of the show, having somebody behind the glass is very valuable.
Gives me like the real studio and the real like Howard Stern vibes.
So give me some introducing our guest vibes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Whoop.
I'd like to welcome.
Oh, you blew it.
I did. I blew it. I blew it.
good.
Listen,
This is
I'm the one take wonder, dude. I got this.
Smooth like butter.
I did listen. In my defense, I did work a very long day, and usually I'm here with a good amount of wiggle room. But
if you have watched this show before, you know that Chris works a long day and he's very tired. If you've watched this show before, but you got it. Okay, let's go. Take two.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to welcome our new friend, Twinkle from Saga Extracts.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
That was an excellent greeting. Thank you.
Yeah, well, listen.
I feel very welcome.
Yeah, please do. I mean, listen, we're a very welcoming team of people.
Yeah, we're great.
Don't let the tattoos fool you, man. I'm a big baby. A
Super,
giant baby.
Super soft.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Like,
We'll keep that on the
keep
down low.
that.
Yeah,
Keep
definitely.
that under your hat. Like, this is. But yeah, Twinkle, welcome. How we doing, man?
I'm doing real well. Yeah, having a great day today. Here, I haven't had an opportunity to actually get my sifting screens out and make any hash in a while, so I'm really excited at the prospect of doing that. And
So you're going to give us a live demo at some point on how. Okay.
Some point soon.
Dave and I have questions.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of questions. Some of them smart questions, most of them not so smart.
This
all
how it's
questions
gonna,
are good.
Yeah, this is how it's going to work. All of his questions will be smart, top notch. I'm going to be the dumbass.
Well, first of all, don't put that pressure on me. Secondly, you know what? We'll try our best. But okay. So before we get to any kind of demonstration, though, it is very exciting. We tend to get very excited on this show and just go crazy, right?
I love it. Yeah, no, the
It's
energy
like,
here is great.
We're like giant children. So let's talk about who Twinkle is first. let's talk about. I know you're geared up here, so just if you wouldn't mind,
I can hold this back for a moment. I'll
Cool.
hold these hands back for just a moment.
Thank you. For our audience who doesn't know anything about you,
Mm-hmm.
and for the things that we don't know about you, talk to us about who you are, what role you fill in the cannabis community,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like your origin story. What got you into this?
Nice.
And what got you to here where you are right now today?
I love crafting an origin story. I feel really good about this. So
Go for it. Yeah. So hold on. Ready?
Ready? Story time with Twinkle. Yes, I love this. Okay. So I've been involved with cannabis since the late 90s. I started consuming it first as quite young. And then was involved with kind of distribution, also again quite young. So in those days I've always been a tinker, right? Like that's the energy that I bring to things. Is I always kind of look at things and for better it'll have a tendency to go, hey, I can probably make this better, right?
Okay.
And so when I had at the time a lot of the time it was brick weed up from anywhere south of the U.S. border,
remember that
full
bullshit.
of seeds and stems
Ugh.
and yeah, I mean it was Baltimore. I was
The good old days.
We were pumped to get
Yeah.
it too. Like, dude, I just got some weed. It's like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
yes, we're gonna split this dime bag that probably has less THC than the fractional popcorn
Right.
nugget
A
now.
gram.
Yeah, so that weed wasn't very good, and so there was lots of room for improvement. And so between trying to find new and interesting avenues for it for myself and for my friends, my community, I started making just a little and it's the sort of thing where I am so glad that this particular art form tends not to with the exception of like Nepalese temple balls and things along those lines, tends to be one that's transitory, right? So I don't have to look at the bad hash that I made in '99, like somebody made was in a band or something like that, and hates their first album. But it wasn't great, and we were starting with really crap material, and kind of the hash maker slogan that just gets passed along, fire in, fire out, right? If you start with lousy material, your hash is never going to be great. It may be better than what your starting material was, and that was kind of what I was going for.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so I was involved in the traditional market in Baltimore for a long time. For I would say probably like 4 or 5 years. But it was still very dangerous to be involved with that in Baltimore. I was actually personally in a house raid that was poorly targeted. It had nothing to do, but the DA was very visibly upset that this had happened, right? Because it was a misallocation of resources, right? And this was still in the dark days, right? When you could still do really serious jail time for very small amounts of cannabis. It's really, really
Crazy.
Biden did just reclassify, right, from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah, I think I'm very curious to see what that actually means in terms of practical, because the only other, I was trying to think, because I was looking this up because there's somebody with a business wonky interest in cannabis, but also the background in biochemistry. A lot of times when they come up with these things, I'm curious to see how they're going to parse things apart. Is it if it's okay? Well, now it has medicinal value, and for example, there's only 2 or 3 examples of Schedule 3 drugs that are frequently mentioned. One of them is Tylenol 3s. Right.
Tylenol 3?
Yeah. So Tylenol 3.
What does that
It's like
mean?
Tylenol, codeine.
Yeah. Tylenol with codeine.
How do you know that?
Hospital.
Sudafed.
Sheesh.
I think
I
might
did
be
a lot
one.
of drugs in my day.
Good Lord. Tylenol with codeine, that's a Schedule 3.
And
And
chew
then
those fuckers up.
what was the other one?
I think Sudafed might be, and that's why you have
Really?
to show your ID or whatever. And it's and I think in that case, what it is more it's because these are things that are not in and of themselves or
Well, Sudafed is the main ingredient in meth.
Yeah.
It's right, or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one that they separate out. So that's why they started doing the IDs for that. Yeah.
I remember years ago, my mom was like freaking out. She's like, we can't get the cold medicine that works anymore. We can't get the cold medicine that works anymore. I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She goes, it's because of those damn hopheads.
Shout to Mom. Shout to Mom.
Oh, that's
I'll
fantastic.
never forget that. I'll never forget that. Because of the damn hopheads.
Damn hopheads.
Yeah.
With their wide leg pants and their long hair. What is this? That's fantastic. I love that. I haven't actually heard anybody use the term hophead.
I've never heard it before. I had never heard it before, nor have I heard it since.
I mean, like Reefer Madness days, I guess. That's
Hopheads.
Yeah.
Well, whatever the case may be.
It's
So
wild.
anyway, you went from making, lesser quality hash out of bad product
Yeah.
to making some good product.
Yeah, so I was involved in the cannabis community in Baltimore, and then I moved actually out to the Pacific Northwest, mostly because the cannabis was a lot better, and the laws were a lot friendlier. They had medical cannabis is something that was accessible in like the early aughts and stuff like that, and so I was involved with the medical cannabis movement that was going on in Washington at the time. All my roommates were all part of, like very involved with like Seattle Hemp Fest, right? Which at the time was the largest cannabis rally in, I think, the world, or at least the country. Lasted like a week. It was an amazing event. It's a really, really cool thing. But yeah, so throughout that whole time, I started making larger batches of edibles, and I was starting to do things along those lines. And then I actually, when my first child came along, I kind of started looking at things. For one thing, I'd been doing caregiving work for 7 years of that. I started when I was 16 years old, dropped out of high school and started taking care of folks with disabilities. And that's always been like very central to me, I think, also with cannabis, just because there are so many people that are dealing with, these serious health conditions and serious, things like, different kinds of disabilities. And, when they don't have access to the medicine that they need, their life is, considerably worse, right? I don't mean to get all heavy here, but this is,
you're good.
yeah,
You're
but
good,
this
you're
is, but that was something that, that I saw out there, right? There were people that were dying of cancer, and, thankfully the law, and thankfully the laws were such that they could have caregivers actually grow plants for them,
I really hope it's black and white right now, and there's like raindrops coming, dude.
Yes, but that's these are the driving forces that that make us want to do things, that make us want to spread this plant, because we've seen all the benefits from it, right?
For sure,
and for people, and in particular with like the kind of, for me, the drive is still I'll pause this, hop off my soapbox for a hot second, and I'll get us through to here. I've bounced around the country since then. After I'd kind of decided I needed to do something different, because I knew that I had a talent and a skill for inventing things, changing things, working, with science and math. So I went back to school, got a degree in biochemistry, and then I went and worked for commercial meadery. And was doing a quality control work there. So that was my first real exposure.
Meadery or mead? Like
mead. Yeah.
Like the wine?
Yeah, honey wine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were doing still meads, and then also like cold carbonated ones.
I was going to ask if you've done a lot of Ren fairs in your day.
I have done quite a few Ren fairs, but that was actually like, so our mead was more like, we went to microbrew fests. Like that was really our crowd. So, and actually it was kind of cool to see, because like the beer guys all loved us, because we weren't really competition, right? Because by that point, the microbrew scene had kind of gotten saturated, and it still is. You kind of have this net neutral on breweries opening and closing in a lot of states, right? It kind of hits this plateau of growth, which is when kind of like looking at how cannabis is introduced in different states, I see a lot of parallels actually between the cannabis industry and like kind of the early microbrew industry. Yeah. Just in terms of, how they've kind of grown. You have this kind of grassroots, kind of movement behind it. It's just cannabis was just so much more illegal. So you have like, and wider, is a much wider group of people, grouping of people that are interested in cannabis than, I think the microbrews, had available to them at the time. But
right, because it's all these different microbrews competing for, their share of the people, whereas cannabis is just for all the people.
Yeah.
Well, and alcohol use is diminishing. A lot of people are choosing not to drink alcohol, right? And
Right
a lot of
on.
people are looking for, I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
with that. Yeah. And, that's, and so, even people that you wouldn't have expected being interested in cannabis, 10 years ago or something like that, they quit drinking. Well, wow, they really would like a relaxing beverage at the end of the night.
Absolutely, yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
So finding something that's appropriate for that, it's like,
Yeah.
filling that need for them.
So is that where you're at now? Essentially, just you're in the cannabis industry, but you're sort of an innovator within the industry. Like, how would you describe?
Oh, I wouldn't want to take that hat on. I would say aspiring innovator. I would say.
Okay.
I mean, so where I'm at here, having bounced around, had different lab experience. I worked in academic labs for years. When I got to New Jersey, I actually hadn't been smoking cannabis for a really long time. I'd run into some legal trouble when I was younger, and it made it very difficult. Right.
Got it.
This is all, stuff that was resolved many, many years ago, but still, like, I wasn't involved with the plant for a really long time. Sadly, I feel like I missed time, but but we don't really. We move on with our lives. We do our things, and I'm very happy that I found it in the time and place that I did when I came here, because with New Jersey having a legal cannabis industry, and also, there is a market here that you don't see in a lot of other states, just in terms of, and it comes down to population density, and also just, there are a lot of different. I think that while the MSOs, the big MSOs, they look at numbers. Right?
What's an MSO?
Oh, forgive
Sorry.
me. Multi-state operator. So those are your larger.
I'm like, yeah, like I knew. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you were
of
like
course.
right with them. I
I'm like,
felt.
right on, let's go.
Look,
I'm locked in.
Yeah,
I'll
so-
let you know that I do not know what an
I
MSO
didn't.
is.
I had
Oh,
no
it's okay.
idea.
So
I had no idea. Thank
all
you,
it means
David.
is multi-state operator. It means it's not a company that grew up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or and so
A company from out of state.
yeah, that
Got
came in. So and you have there's different types of MSOs too. Some
Like
people
Wawa.
they would definitely be. We have them in Maryland, I can tell you.
So they're an MSO even if they're in their own original state.
If you're just in your own state, then no. But as soon as you branch out, technically, and that's why I was saying that there are like kind of smaller independent MSOs that are not necessarily. People have a tendency to hear MSO in the community and think massive commercial,
Right.
like corporate kind of entity, and that's because.
But it could just be somebody who knows how to ship things.
Well, no, because you have to be able to set it up and grow it all here, right?
Well, right, but as long as you have a functioning company here,
Yeah.
once you start doing business in other states, you're an MSO, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're getting into the weeds on something
No,
where you
and
had a
that's okay.
story to tell, but
And you got to be good at logistics. Clearly.
you have to be able to ship things. Yeah. That's what I mean. You have to be able to do business in another state, which obviously means you need to be able to get to the FedEx.
You shipped. You got. Dude,
You got to be able to print
successfully-
those labels.
it's
Yeah.
all
It's
about
printing
the
the
shipping.
label.
Guys, this, come on. This is tough stuff.
Oh my God.
But you said it right.
So-
I'm in the weeds over here. Like I'm lost in the
Well,
sauce.
so the and I
Carry on.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, I was
carry
just gonna say, so the MSO thing, what it really is. So when you look at the larger, dispensaries that are operating in New Jersey, you think of Zenleaf, you think of Verano, you think of Air, right? Those are
I
all
frequent Zenleaf.
Yeah.
All the time.
and they're in every state that's legal, right? Like they're and a lot of times what they'll do is that you'll get somebody that'll come in, set up an independent business here in a new state, right? Because they give preference to those, right? But they when they give preference to an applicant that is from here and is starting an independent business here, that preference comes with basically kind of like a little bit of a condition, and the condition is that they're not allowed to sell the license for 2 years, right? But that's only 2 years, right? Most of these businesses aren't even like completely like in the black by then, right? They're not
Okay.
profitable.
Go ahead.
But and so that means that you have a whole lot of people that right after their second year, right? And that's that's from their, I think it's from 2 years from like their annual conversion. So that's when they're essentially set up and ready to operate. So if you've got a whole lot of struggling business owners that have launched businesses, and they suddenly come up on that 2-year mark, and the majority of people who attempt to secure a license in New Jersey or really broadly any state, cannabis applicants have a tendency to be undercapitalized. In particular, anybody who's coming in under social equity rules, right? And, I believe very strongly that, the communities that have been most impacted by, the prohibition of cannabis absolutely deserve to see some recompense, right? To see some sort of like straightening out. And so I'm really glad that those laws are there. The problem is that they haven't really helped people in a lot of ways. And a lot of times they come with a lot of conditions. Including things like your investors have to make more like additional financial disclosures and things like that, right? Well, it's hard enough to get people to hand you as much money as you need to start a grow, right? Even a micro grow, it's, like per square foot of canopy, it's just to get it in lights and like all the floor finishes, wall finishes, ceiling finishes, all that kind of stuff. It's $550 per square foot, right?
To have a functioning growing facility.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an approximation, but like,
say that again.
And that's not to have a functioning grow facility. That's to have the room that you set your facility up in.
So
right?
that's just the
with
space.
the lights. Including the lights,
so
which are very expensive.
What else would you need?
Whatever your grow process is. So if you're, for example, growing in soil, you would still need all the soil, pots, irrigation systems, all that kind of stuff, right? I'm talking about a room that's got, for that, that may include like, some of the water, additional water filtering and stuff like that you need in order to make sure that the water's clean enough to use.
So starting with that 550 per square foot number, give me the number per square foot with all wrapped in total included.
It starts
just ballpark it for me, goddamn it.
All right.
I got some square footage for sale, son.
I'm just curious, like, is like 1,000?
I mean,
1,500?
I wouldn't say 1,000 because
Okay.
a lot of the expense is the lights. The lights are really, really expensive.
Sodium,
right?
halogen,
And those are
something.
included with the 550. Sodium, halogen, LED, all of them. They're all expensive. Like they all cost a lot of money. And they all use a ton of juice. Now LED uses less, right? But and I'm, by the way, I should. Big ass caveat on me. I am not a cultivator. That is the one part where I know as much as I know, and it's not a lot, right? My whole active participation in cannabis outside of just thoroughly enjoying it as a plant personally, has been on the processing end, right? So I'm primarily a hash maker, edibles maker, all that kind of. So but outside of that, I understand just cannabis science pretty broadly. I feel like a fairly sound understanding of that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, when it comes to cultivation stuff, so why they want those different lights, I don't know, but I trust them. As long as it's like if their product's good, then they know what they're talking about, kind of thing.
Getting back to what you brought it up, the money per square footage as it pertained to
Dave's
getting
the numbers guy.
No. I'm just getting back to what you were actually talking about, which was getting funding and stuff like that. So you were mentioning that it's difficult for anybody in the cannabis industry to get funding. What, just specifically because it's cannabis and there's just a lot of like loophole or hurdles to clear?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's high risk, high reward, right? And it's high risk, high reward, and you can't take out loans generally, although they're starting to fix that. But I guarantee you that, whatever lenders are going to be in the New Jersey cannabis market, that money's going to be lent at very high rates. And in fact, the only, as somebody who started, I'm in the process of developing a cultivation manufacturing license here for New Jersey, setting up locally right down here on the Jersey Shore.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's Saga Extracts. You can check us out at Instagram at Saga Extracts.
Plug away.
Please.
Plug away.
I plug shamelessly. But I appreciate the reassurance 100%.
For sure.
But yeah, so I'm sorry, what was the question? I lost.
The question, I guess we were talking about
Square footage.
No, it was about getting funding and
loans.
Yeah.
So if you start any other kind of business, you're going to not turn to your investors and ask them for all of the money that you need to start operating your business. You would pitch investors with exchanging equity for your startup capital, and then most businesses you would be looking at taking out some sort of substantial business loan, or you're like a cottage, unless this is not a if you're starting the thing in your garage, great, you can't do that with cannabis. You can do that with microbrewing, but you can't really do that with cannabis.
Oh no,
not legally anyway.
My cousin grew some cannabis in his garage.
I'm given to understand some people do in their garage. And but I can't speak to that at all.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean, so and that's one of the things that one of the things that makes this business different is that you can't get loans because and that has to do with the federal illegality of cannabis. The banks are very much tied up in interstate federal regulations around banking and that kind of thing. And so, that's what makes loans, at least before, either unavailable or relatively unavailable. And again, there's been some movement forward on that, but very little. The other thing that makes it hard is, every part of the cannabis industry that exists currently is all behind lock and key. It's all very hidden away, and they're not, like in particular, these large commercial multi-state operators, unless you go and work for them, they're not, and they're the only ones that have legal cannabis, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to work, so for example, as a hash maker, right, I need cannabis to train people to make hash, right? Like,
sure.
And so a lot of these things that you just can't do anything until you've already invested all of the money in getting it set up, right?
So basically what you're saying is that these multi-state operators are so corporate in the fact that they won't do partnerships with the small hash makers and whoever like you. Rather, you have to just buy everything up front and be a customer.
They can't sell to you wholesale unless you have unless you have a license, right? So if you have your own license, and so as far as what they're doing with the independent licenses that are already in operation, right? I can't fully speak to that other than that I have heard a number of complaints from independent retail. That's the word. I kept wanting to say real estate. Independent retail licenses. I've talked to a number of the owners there, and I can definitely say without any doubt that nobody was really impressed with the wholesale price lists that they were getting from the MSOs. These are things that are like when cannabis was rolled out in New Jersey. An enormous amount of freedom was given to these alternative treatment centers, right? Your Veranos, your Zen Leafs, all these guys. And then they kind of just were able to just run the market themselves for years, right? They put, at least from what I'm given to understand, there's been a pretty significant push from that end to not allow home grow in New Jersey. I'm somebody who's starting a business in New Jersey. I absolutely believe in home grow, right? Where are you supposed to get your next generation of talented cultivators and hash makers? If the people who are interested in this, right, who want to make good medicine for people, that want to help people out by producing cleaner, high quality products, like if they don't have the opportunity to operate at least even a little bit openly, right? Or have any kind of resources, and they're starting to be like college programs and stuff like that. Like I think Stockton has a program. I think Rutgers has maybe a cannabis business program or something like that. Huh. I could be wrong. I don't. That's yeah.
We'll Google it.
Yeah, I feel like all that'll change once the government finally reclassifies whatever it's going to do. Whatever.
It has to be like completely decriminalized or it has to be like declassified or whatever.
All that shit's going to change. But then I feel at the same token, yeah, cool, it's reclassified or whatever, it's decriminalized. I feel like that's going to hurt the medical industry.
Why?
Because now the government's going to get involved.
They're already involved.
On a bigger scale. like on a farm, like with pharmaceutical companies and stuff. Like big pharma gets their claws in medical marijuana. It's just like
Yeah.
it's bad for. I feel like it's bad for the industry.
Twinkle, you agree?
I mean, I am hoping. So I am cautiously optimistic, right? I feel like the rescheduling that's gonna be a net benefit. Because I think that they're gonna have to do something to switch, like, because cannabis is not grown, processed, sold, or anything like that at all, like the other things that are in that schedule. And I don't think that they're going to want to come in and just destabilize state markets with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's a good idea. I don't think that that's how they would go about doing that. But yeah, the worry about, if, while we all view cannabis as medicine, right? And we want it to be produced cleanly. Like we all want to make sure that the products that are going out into the market are as clean.
It's going to be mass produced. It's just going to be different. It's
already mass produced though.
It for me, it's the worry.
You're worried about it becoming like a McDonald's situation where this stuff becomes like filled with garbage. It's not
I
real.
hate to tell you something.
Yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of the product that's being produced, I think, in the licensed market right now kind of falls into that category. It is the McDonald's.
God damn it.
Low terp counts, relatively low cannabinoid
I love
counts.
McDonald's, so.
Okay, so
But there are some really, from and by the way, like my experience with the New Jersey dispo market is, as a consumer is relatively, minimal. But I've heard good things from medical patients about, like some places like Breakwater, for example, has an excellent reputation from what I've seen.
Yeah, Breakwater is pretty legit.
what is that?
Breakwater is in Cranberry.
What is it?
It's a dispensary.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
they have good weed. Zenleaf has good product.
And here's
Isn't
the
it
thing.
a little on the expensive side though?
As a medical card holder,
It is.
but as a card holder, like I don't pay tax and I automatically get 10% off, and then points and stuff.
Yeah, but then it's still, if you look at the prices are still, it's like top dollar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
it's quite expensive.
So if you look at national average for concentrates, right? So flower is a weird market, and I don't follow it all that much because I'm primarily a hash maker, and I'm building a hash business, edibles business, infused cannabis and joints. That's like our thing. I'm literally doing everything but flower. It's like they can all just do that. I'm just going to handle processing. And our grow is entirely meant, like we are going to have an attached cultivation, dedicated grow, but that is literally just for feeding our hash because when you grow flower for making hash, you actually grow it a little bit differently.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. It's like growing corn for something other than eating on your table. It's a different style,
How did you know that?
because of the booze. The booze show.
The booze show.
The bourbon episode we teach about
the
we
booze
teach
show.
about different types of corn. Some corn has more actual, like the corn you eat on your table has actual sugar. The corn they use to make bourbon has potential sugar.
Okay.
So it's different, tastes different, but it behaves differently.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry.
Oh no!
Continue.
It's yeah. No, that's one of the things that when we're looking at growing, we're very most cultivators, commercial cultivators, when they grow flower, they're growing for weight, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to pounds of flour because that's how many 1/8 ounces you can fit into jars that you're getting your maximum profit out of. For us, our grow it's much more quality centric in terms of the plant and the flower because we're not growing for weight, we're growing for oil content, right?
Okay.
We're growing. So literally when I take, no matter what process I'm using for doing extraction, whether it's, blasting butane through it like you do with resin or washing it with ice water, which is, ice water hash, or dry sifting, which is what I'm going to do here today.
Okay.
All of these, your yield is going to be most affected by how many cannabinoids and terpenes, what the cannabinoid and terpene content of the flower that you're working with, your starting material, that's going to have the biggest influence on the quality of your yield, right? Because if you have flower that has really high terpene content, you'll get a hash that has really high terpene content, that you'll get a really nice hit, smell. I've got some, there's certain flower that when you make the hash from it like some of them, they'll lose a lot of kind of like the unique characteristic. And then there's ones where it blows out. I was working with some really good melted strawberry flower, strain flower, and that was one where when you open that jar, it smells like fresh strawberry. It smells like like just fresh, juicy, melting spring strawberries, right? All of those, so starting with the highest, and this is, I said at the beginning, is the whole fire in, fire out thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're cultivating to grow flower for producing hash, we really, really are focused on quality. Also, the cultivation method that we're looking at right now is one that is, it is as ecologically sound of a grow process as you can have indoors, right? We're still going to be growing under LEDs. That's something that has an intensive electric use, we're trying to, find ways to legitimately offset that, in terms, because we're very dedicated to being, trying to reduce the
solar
environmental
LEDs,
impact.
man.
Solars are really good.
They only work while the sun is up.
It's just that the solar panels are so expensive and they're relatively inefficient, right?
Yes.
Yes. For and I'm not saying this is not me saying we shouldn't do solar. We should absolutely.
You heard it here
I'm saying
first.
build better panels.
Fuck solar.
Or make them cheap. Or figure out a way to make them cheaper. But yeah. So so we're doing no-till living soil grows where we're essentially building an indoor ecosystem. Really
nice.
Something where instead of our soil being like ditched with all the extra nutrients and stuff left over from a previous grow, all those nutrients just stay there because instead of we're using basically kind of like large indoor raised beds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I used to have an indoor raised bed in my room as a kid.
Nice.
My desk underneath it, It's
I had a
cool.
captain's bed.
That's awesome.
Did you?
I did.
What does that mean, a captain's bed?
So there was 2 drawers on this side, cabinet in the middle, like a cubby cabinet, and then 2 drawers on this side.
Underneath the bed?
Yeah.
So you had a raised bed too?
Yeah.
Nice.
But like it wasn't like raised where like I could walk under it, like
No, you was just it had stuff. It was
captain's
functional.
bed.
Captain's bed. Never heard of that before.
You Google it. See, now
So-
I'm interested if that's really the thing. I'm sorry, dude. Welcome to my world.
No, I love this. This is
Welcome to
awesome.
my world. I'm not going to be able to sleep unless I know I got it right.
Yeah, that's did I say that word completely wrong in that conversation earlier? At 2 a.m. is one that really gets me. Oh, that's a captain's bed.
So yeah, I had
Yeah.
that one, the wooden one without the headboard and footboard. It was just kind of plain Jane.
I love that.
Oh wait,
So
no.
it was blank on the bottom, but you had the oh look, this guy's got cabinets on the side and the front.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it was,
I
it was
have a
pretty
converted
legit.
school bus,
So yeah, you got a
28
raised
footer.
bed,
I feel like one of these guys would fit like really well. I think it would be a good
too.
solution.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hang out in the cubby, eat M&Ms.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at you.
Shout to being lonely and having no friends as a child.
I mean, I feel like, and then if you get the Reese's and then you kind of like recreate ET kind of thing.
Oh,
like
yeah,
if
no.
you're having a lonely child moment.
We were poor as
Like-
fuck. I used to like just get what I could get.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what type of like as we're shopping for our flower,
Mhm.
do you have any recommendations or advice for like what type of specs should we be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I would say, so if it's just for consumption as flour, right? Then you just want to go for highest, I usually go for really, I'm usually more looking at the terpene profile and the terpene like total terpene content.
Okay,
I usually like to see those like at least high, like 1.8.
1.8.
That's like on the lower end. Usually
Terpenes?
like, yeah. Like
Okay.
2 to 3% terpene total content is like really ideal for me
2 to 3%.
in the flour. Yeah. And I mean, you usually only see that. I mean, again, it's something you see in very high quality flour, right? But it's becoming more commonplace to see flour that's of that quality, at, reasonable prices in other more mature markets, There's, like obviously just amazing flower in like Maine, for example. I know I haven't actually been to Maine or Massachusetts, but I've heard fantastic things about their programs. That I've had a number of products from there. They're all very good.
I know that in Massachusetts the baseball and basketball and football teams all suck. That's for sure. And now let me ask you this question: like, what do you see yourself in 5 years question? But what are your like immediate sort of intermediate goals for where you want to progress to?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the very short term, a lot of my work right now, I'm in the process of raising capital for the company that I'm planning on building the full cultivation manufacturing licenses here. So that's ever present and a thing that I'm pushing for.
And
actively.
that's cultivation and whatnot with the intent of making hash.
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And most of that will get washed as fresh frozen. We'll get, a lot of live hash rosin specifically. But I also plan on doing more traditional, kind of old school hash styles like kind of like what I'm doing here, which is dry sift.
Mm-hmm.
More is, collaborative projects, because sometimes you may be working with somebody that already has flower that's been dried and cured, right? Well, you can, some of that you can wash, but it doesn't all wash well, in terms of like your yield. And anything that doesn't wash well, you can usually get to sift well, So kind of having, so our lab. So while I already talked about kind of the no-till like living soil thing for the cultivation end. On our lab end, kind of one of the things that differentiates us is that we're an all solventless lab. And so we don't use any solvent-based extraction methods. There's no butane. I have personally, I made butane hash back in I guess it's like the early 2000s or something like that with friends.
Sounds fucked up. Butane hash. That sounds like some nasty shit.
But that's like
nasty.
It is?
But that's like 60% of what's in the market. Anything that says resin was extracted with butane or hexane or any one of these.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah. So even your live resins, right? Like which is generally, so you've got, we can get into, disambiguation with that stuff later, but or some of that's trying to, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to like what different names for different types of hash actually mean.
Okay.
Right? And so, one of the biggest dividing lines is what is your product resin? If it's resin, then it was extracted using most likely butane, but it may be some other sort of, technically supercritical CO2 also counts as a solvent-based process. It's one that I don't see any harm with because it's just carbon dioxide, right? It's not like that's going to, there's no potential harm to the consumer there, right? Because we breathe out CO2 all the time.
Right.
And also, as somebody who,
even though CO2 is literally poisonous and it can kill you.
Enough of it, yeah, or in the right, yeah.
I mean,
like actually, no, but for real, like,
unless CO2 is fine unless you think about it for 5 seconds.
Unless you stop breathing for like 2 minutes, and then that CO2 seems like it's a problem,
right? Or if you're in a room with that's sealed, and eventually all the oxygen turns to CO2, you're fucked, bro.
Yeah,
it's poison.
And then your buddy farts.
People forget
methane. It's like a whole.
People
thing.
forget that.
Yeah. But yeah, so you've got kind of all these options using solvents, and what they're doing is essentially taking the flour and just dissolving everything that can dissolve in that solvent. Mm-hmm. So you're going to pull, and it's done in such a way as to minimize, and by the way, I am not somebody who's putting down people. There are resin hash makers who make absolutely phenomenal product. They do it cleanly. They do it well. There are professional and commercial labs that do it well. I'm not somebody who's going to come in and say, that's like,
you're not anti.
I'm not anti. It's that I'm of the opinion that if you're going to do that, you absolutely should do it right. Right.
Okay.
And outside of that, when I'm somebody who is, choosing my method for producing hash, I'm just like, well, do I want to work with flammable butane, or do I want to work with ice water, right? Or a silk screen like this? I know this can't hurt me, right?
Right.
I know it's, and so and part of the reason that decision, other people go in the other direction, it mostly comes down to reducing labor, right? Doing solventless methods is more labor intensive.
Right on.
Washing probably the least so. Dry sift is the most labor intensive method because you're physically manipulating the flour around on top of screens in order to get the trichomes that hold all those cannabinoids and terpenes to fall through.
And that's the demonstration you're going to.
That's what I'm going to be doing right here.
Okay, so before you do that though, do you want to get a word from our sponsor?
This episode of the Too Clouded Mind Show is brought to you by Sife Smoke Shop. Visit them at 1183 Main Street, Asbury Park, New Jersey, or online at goodtimesint.com. Use promo code STAYCLOUDED for 20% off your entire purchase. They have all kinds of amazing, cool things, including this. David, tell them about it.
One of their amazing products is this 26 plus piece smoking set. Chris, yes, Chris and I are very excited to unbox this and show everybody what's inside. Chris, why don't you do the honors?
All right, here we go. So 26 plus pieces. We're going to start with the most obvious one.
Which
it is the smell-proof bag with the TSA lock on it. Obviously, there's instructions in there to make your own combo. To lock it, it is completely smell-proof.
The feel of this bag.
It does feel good.
It just feels so nice.
It feels like soft leather.
It does.
And you know what? Honestly, this would be like the perfect gift for somebody because it's really an all-in-one. Inside, you've got a grinder. You've got a pack of Sife cones.
Sife pre-roll cones.
You've got a silicone pipe with a bee on it. Sick.
And look, underneath here, there's a little place to put your flour, a little secret compartment underneath there.
And it comes with a poker to clean it.
It does? Oh my gosh. A poker to clean.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know what these are. These are chillums / one-hitters.
Is that what these are?
Yeah.
So one hitter, fill it with flour right here.
Flour.
And just hit it once.
You have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 smell-proof tubes to go with your cones.
Absolutely. They start out here and they end up in here, ready for action.
We've got stickers. We love stickers. Everybody loves stickers. We're big fans of stickers.
I love stickers.
We've got 5 smell-proof bags to keep your flour fresh and not stinking up the whole place.
I can see you throwing a Sife sticker right on the bag.
Oh yeah, for sure. Maybe a Sife sticker and maybe a Too Clouded Mind Show sticker.
Oh, that would be nice.
Silicone rolling tray. I mean,
oh wow.
The feel of this, it's awesome. More silicone here, silicone tips.
Reusable tips.
That's right. That's a really good travel kit. I mean, that really is everything you'll need.
Right, absolutely.
Just doesn't come with flour. No. That you're on your own.
An incredible package, an incredible value.
Especially when you use promo code STAYCLOUDED, in-store or online.
As Chris mentioned, it's a great gift idea.
Smoker on the go, if you will.
Smoker about town. Visit Sife Smoke Shop, 1183 Main Street in Asbury Park, New Jersey, or online at goodtimesint.com and use promo code STAYCLOUDED for 20% off your purchase.
And we're back. Here we go.
Okay, so here it is. And tell us again, this is called dry sifting.
Yes.
And, talk us through it. Tell us.
So dry sifting is the oldest method of producing hash. They've been doing it in a number of parts of the world, all over India and Pakistan, and some perhaps most famously like Morocco, Afghanistan. That's people your Afghani Moroccan hashes, and it's been it's for the most part produced in a simplified version of what I have here. This is a product that was these are actually silk screens they use for pressing images onto t-shirts. Yeah. So, and they just use different silks. And essentially what you have are, I have here a set of 4 of these, running, and each one of them, the silk threads
or
Let the man
spaced
speak.
different. No,
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry. No, I'm here for it.
Chris, why don't you give us a demonstration?
I like participation.
Listen, I didn't want to say anything, but I know how to do this, dude.
I've been doing this for years.
I'm here to. No, but that's that one of the reasons that I like dry sifting is that it's the sort of thing kind of everybody has already done it, right? If you've ever had a grinder with a keef box on it,
yeah,
right, you've done some dry sifting. You just did it very slowly and not deliberately. Essentially. And that's why when you went and smoked that, while at the time, in particular, if you were younger or something like that, back before they made the weed so strong, like it is now, you smoked that and you got real high and had a real good time, right? And it still would and enjoy it thoroughly. But what we're basically doing is a more refined and deliberate version of that.
So is that flour or is that keef?
Yeah. So this is flour that I just ground up using a whacket.
Yes, shout out to Dank Diggler.
Yes, absolutely.
Shout out to Dank
If you guys want to
Diggler.
sponsor
Shout
me,
out to
holler.
Whacket.
So this is actually some really nice Zope flour.
Zope, ZOAP. Yep, I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
Like
that's
this guy.
nice.
That's a nice like kind of hybrid, but I like the energy off of this guy. So I ground this up earlier, and the flour's already started to like hash up, or I should say the trichomes, because when you grind it, you're releasing a lot of the trichomes from the flour anyway. The trichomes, so part of the process with most solventless methods is that while you are working,
What are you doing, Chris?
Taking a little video, little quick video, a little close up, little side angle close up.
I got a close up camera on it though.
I'm sorry. I'm just screwing everything up tonight, guys.
You're doing so
sorry.
good. You're doing
Sorry.
so
I'm nervous.
good.
I'm nervous. Look, you know what? You know what it is, dude? I'm in
I
my own
believe in
head.
you.
I'm in my own head. I'm in my own head.
Oh no. Hey, I'm the one that's supposed to be in my head here. This is your house.
Okay,
You
so
gotta pull it together here.
so
You just gotta.
talk
I'm
us
working it.
talk us through this. So,
Yeah,
you,
so-
again, you have 4 screens.
Yeah. So, and each one of them has, the threads run at different distances from each other, which allows for a different sized hole in the places where they intersect, right? And so these in particular are so you stack them lowest micron on the bottom,
Yeah.
all the way up to largest micron size on the top. In this case, I have a 230 micron screen, a 160 micron screen, a 74 micron screen, and a 45. Each one of these kind of serves a different purpose within the separation of the trichomes from the vegetative material that is the rest of the flour, basically. And so this 230, for example, what this
Chris's brain is vegetative material.
I mean, I've had days, man. I'm having days
He's not wrong.
recently. I'm not gonna lie.
So now I have a dumb question. So you do that. How do you know when that stage is done? And then when that stage is done, do you just take that one, move it, and do the same thing? Okay.
Yeah. So this 230, what it's mostly doing is separating out kind of the bulk, large vegetative material, right? You're now at 230, you're still going to get a fair amount of vegetative material in with your mature trichomes.
You got a lot of hard words to say, bro.
It's tough. Try not to get tongue tied here. But yeah, so while most of the the like really kind of bulk, big, nasty vegetative material isn't going to make it through this 230, some of it will, right? So I then have a refining screen underneath of it that's at 150 micron. The next one down is the 74, right? So when you look on any sort of solventless hash packaging, it'll usually say something along the lines of maybe 90U to 120U. That U is the symbol for micron, right? Huh. So that's 90 micron to 120. And if it's something like bubble hash, that means that the screens that it was washed through, right? So for example, if it was 75 to 149, which is what my kind of like my main hash separation in this is going to be. 75 to 149 would just mean that I had a 75 screen and then a 150. It's because it's no, 76 to 150. That's how it is. Because it's, anything smaller, 75 or smaller is going to fall through to the next screen. So it's 76 to 150. But that's all that means. So that micron is just telling you what range was collected for producing that. And the reason that you're interested in that is that the kind of like cream of the crop in terms of the trichomes that you get. And this does vary by strain, grow, even if, 2 different cultivators grow the same strain, you're going to get, some slight differences. It may have to do with when it was harvested or something like that.
Vegetative material.
Yeah, I just went to vegetative material. Hold on just a moment.
Like canal like that when you're done with this first sift.
Yeah.
Is that smokable? Can you cook with it? Is it wasted material now? It's garbage.
Vegetative material? Yeah, I mean, generally, I'm learning to use it for paper. I'm actually going to produce paper fiber from it, and I'm interested in using that for our blunt wraps. I was going to use that for our blunt wraps. Now,
Time out.
yeah, the post sift, yeah, but
Hold
not
on.
the wash.
Dude,
Hold
you
on.
heard that right? Post sift. That's
Post-sift.
like a hard name. That's hard as fuck.
That's like a rapper name.
Post sift.
Post sift.
It's my
like-
rapper name.
Like post punk.
My rapper name is Gross Profit. PROPHET. So a question
ROI.
for you.
Return on
Why
investment? Yeah.
why would the weed not still have THC in it after you do this?
Okay, so it still has some, and you actually there are a number of solventless labs in other states that have like large more of a community of existing solventless labs. That if there is if they're finding that a fair amount is coming out the other side of their process, they'll actually sell that stuff off to a butane company or something along a butane extraction base for making resin.
Sell what? The flour, the flour that stays on top, or the bottom?
Oh no, the flour. So it'd either be the flour that stayed on top, or a lot of times what it is that they're drying out post wash. So just like this is left, you're left with a bunch of vegetative material on top. When you wash the hash through either like one of those bubble magic machines, or if you're just doing it in the bags, you're left with a bunch of the spent vegetative material from that. It's just all wet. So that they'll dry it, and they'll throw that through a butane extraction machine. To get the last little bits of everything out. But that's kind of one of those things. It's like, do you really want the last dregs of what's in there? No, you want the at the very least for if you're trying to use this medicinally, right? You need to have the terpene content so that you'll actually really get kind of the effects that you're looking for. If you need something that's gonna help you sleep, right? For example, you need that heavy indica. You need more of those CBN, more of that CBD. You need more of that linalool and or myrcene, humulene, these other terpenes that help you kind of chill out and get ready for sleep, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
So or in my case, I'm the classic ADD kid, right? And I consume sativas all day long because the limonene, the CBG content, it helps me focus, right? That's something that's like if I tried to smoke indicas all day, I'd just be sluggish and very tired. Yeah. See, well, and that's and if you're somebody especially that's and some people it's just brain chemistry, right? Some people's brains just really like kind of this set of terpenes and cannabinoids. And sometimes it's it's a matter of what you need for your specific that day.
Yeah.
Like if I've been I single-handedly unloaded a 26-foot U-Haul truck the other day, and I got to tell you at the end of that, I smoked a big joint of indica, real heavy, I think it was cream soda or something, like that, real good flour. With I had some Black Mamba hash that I'd made. Mixed all that together, had a real nice, but I need those, that CBN, that CBD, that myrcene to help, with the muscle pain, help your body calm down, get some sleep. Yeah.
These are all words I've never heard before.
But what you were asking though was, in terms of what we're really doing here for how we're able to get as much of the cannabinoids and terpenes out of the flower and down is that within the plant structure, you have what are called trichomes, right?
Sure.
And each of these trichomes is basically like a little ball of wax, right? That's sitting on the end of like a little neck, right? And so when and those trichomes contain the vast majority of the cannabinoids and terpenes in the plant. So when we separate those out mechanically here using the screen, right? I'm basically selecting for any particle that's smaller than 230 microns, which would include all of the trichomes, or most. I think none of them got above 230 anyway. So basically we're allowing the screen to separate everything by size and only allowing things that are approximately the size of a trichome or smaller to fall through. That way we're getting, and so we've now separated out most of the plant material. And what you're left with is what's usually, so if you just run it through a 230, that's what's usually called keef, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just one that, keef is really just uncured hash that still has a fair amount of vegetative matter in it.
Okay.
Can you do anything? Can you turn keef into hash?
Well, that's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we're going to do. I'm
interested to see what's on the next level.
Yeah. So let me. And when I'm doing this, and just to describe for anybody that's like listening to this,
he's moving it around with his hands.
I'm moving it around. That's it. It's real simple.
Like I feel like
nothing magical here.
You got a few grams right there, but like I feel like the next screen's only going to be like a little.
You're just swiping it. Yeah, I'm interested to see like how much
yeah.
actually fits through, because that looks like a fine screen to me.
For sure,
And
dude.
this
I'm
is
right
the
on
widest
top
one
of
I've
it,
got.
and it's
fine.
it's fine.
So fine.
So fine.
Such a fine.
Yeah, so I got a pretty decent camera shot, a close up of it. So
Nice.
for what it's worth,
Yeah,
the
so-
people who can see,
Smells nice.
if you're listening right now, yeah, he's just really just like spreading it around.
That's one of my favorite parts.
It looks like a bunch of
My whole-
oregano
my
sitting
whole
there.
house smells
Yeah,
like
it's just oregano.
delicious flower.
Narc.
That's what it looks like. It does,
That's
because
it.
it's very ground up.
The best for the
Shout out
smell
Wacket.
though is definitely shout out. That was one of those things where I'm not the sort of person to buy gadgetry like broadly. I have to really be assured that this is going to be like, I don't know why, I'm just not that guy.
Fair.
And that was something where I was like pleasantly surprised
Oh, it's great.
by how well that thing works. It works really, really well.
It's great.
And it's actually, in particular for me, from a processing standpoint, like I really want to make sure that I'm getting any of the stems and stuff out, right, before it's going on the silk, because the stems, if
Could that
they're
fuck it up?
gnarly enough, you could cut a hole in it. Yeah, because like you said, even this top one is a very fine looking screen, right? That's because it kind of is.
It's fine.
It's such a fine screen.
So fine.
I'm fully erect.
Whoa.
I didn't know it was going to be that kind of party, guys. All right, well,
You signed the waiver, pal.
Buy the ticket, take the ride.
Oh man, yeah, that's been my philosophy for a very long time.
So yeah, still spreading, just spreading.
And, and a
pushing.
lot of it is
Kinda
I'm
grinding up.
rolling it between my fingers, and what that does is even
Ladies,
yes,
you hear that?
Whoa, come on.
strong hands. So the I'm rolling between, and I'm breaking up any of the like little bits of nug, and it's better to do this with your hands generally than to just grind the shit out of the flour. Because if you just grind the shit out of the flour, you're gonna be left with you're a lot more tiny particulate vegetative matter in the mix that you either have to screen out or that you won't be able to. And then you end up with a product that has a little bit more in the way of that veg. And again, one thing to keep in mind, because I'll use like vegetative matter, and I'll refer to it as a contaminant. The beautiful thing about this is it's what you would have been smoking if you smoked the weed.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Like, it's
So
not like
it's
there's
not bad.
it's not something that's bad for you. There's no so it's just kind of funny because I'll use contaminant and people kind of like, and
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
because
well,
you're making a fine product. You're making a distilled, so to speak,
Refined,
product.
yeah.
Refined is a good word. Yes.
Yeah.
And so for that, it's like, there's a certain, it's not like just getting any old plate of food. It has to be arranged on the plate a certain way. It has to look a certain way. It has to be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like anything that's at its highest level, I guess.
A lot of the hash maker's job is don't screw up all the hard work that the cultivator put in. Just don't screw it up from there. Which I know a lot of chefs say the same thing about ingredients. Like, we just don't want to mess up, but that's, I really do think like the more I've done this, like, the more you can kind of keep your processing to a minimum, right? You want to achieve your end goal of a product, right? Like if you want to make live hash rosin, you're going to be washing it, you're going to be drying it, you're going to be pressing it. Like there's going to be steps. Yeah. Where you can, don't overcomplicate things, because, a lot of these solventless methods, in terms of initially capturing the trichome from the flour into your working, hash, a lot of that depends on the trichomes remaining intact, right? Because if I'm saying that a trichome that I want is between 75 micron and 150, and I take half of the ones that are 100, micron get smashed, right? Well, now they're 50 micron, or approximately 250 micron chunks, right? Ish. Those guys fall through.
So now you lose it
Now
completely.
you're losing it completely. So now you're losing yield, right? And so, a lot of it is learning how to just like kind of, and as I said, it's kind of silly because I'm like, it's just like, yes, this is very nice, gentle massaging, just like you would give it like a chicken cutlet or something along those lines. But you really do need to like you just kind of be mindful of that in terms of not wanting to wreck all the trichomes. So
Interesting.
this guy, and I would normally work this down a lot more, but we can get this. Ooh. God, I'm
Careful.
corded. I know. I'm corded.
Careful.
Am I going to be okay to take this off?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. So as you can see, there's a pile of flour ground up on the silk screen.
I think we're about to see a reveal.
We're gonna, I think we're close to a reveal of the second screen, and I'm gonna assume he's gonna do some more rubbing.
There's going to be more rubbing.
I think there's gonna be more rubbing. Maybe he's gonna use a tool. Maybe he's gonna use his fingers.
See, the thing is, like, I can't imagine that you'd be able to work with your hands with whatever's underneath that
A lot
screen.
of this also, so I'll be like kind of like moving things around and then just like tap it, and that's just to help use a little bit of vibration. Use a little bit of vibration just to kind of like get most of the trichomes out. And you do this really until you do this right up until you stop seeing the I'm literally, when I'm doing this, I'm like looking at the screen and seeing if any of the yellowish, beigeish trichomes are still in the mix. And if they're out, that's kind of when you're done.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a feel sort of thing. But
Oh, wow.
Dude,
Okay.
it
Yeah, the-
literally looks like
The
sand.
shot, the shot doesn't do it justice. That's better, I suppose.
so
That's a lot.
I gotta take a picture.
Yeah. Chris is like a tourist.
I am.
That's
He
I'm
Chris is like a guy who won a contest to be on a podcast.
It's my first time actually.
the real winner here is me. Gentlemen, I just again I have to thank you for having me. This has been a lot.
No,
of fun.
course.
thanks
This
for
has been a lot
coming.
of fun
Thanks
already.
for
very
coming.
much.
So when you look at this, you'll notice. So it has kind of like a sandy look to it, and you can see a lot of these kind of like beige. You can see a lot of the beige trichomes, but a lot of it will still like it's a lot darker. It almost looks like a little fuzzy, kind of along the surface, and that's a lot of those the trichome tails, those little stalks that the trichome heads are on, haven't been broken off, because when it was being sifted through that 230 screen, the whole thing just fell right through with the
Went
the
head
net.
first.
So that's what's gonna happen now. It's gonna.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is basically this way.
Oh wow, he is
Okay, there
going
we
to
go.
use his hands. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
So well, and we had a conversation about microplastics earlier.
Microplastics.
Yeah. So
Oh boy.
as a general rule, I really do try to avoid using plastic tools for this, mostly because I'm trying to avoid getting microplastics into my end product.
Good call,
I almost
good call.
entirely use these are nitrile examination gloves,
Mhm.
so they're like examination grade, which is
As good as it gets.
as good as it gets. And then I'll use that, and then I actually have this is just a horsehair painter's brush.
Whores?
Horsehair. No,
Oh.
no, but horsehair.
I like where your
Horse
head's at.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
see what you did there. I like where your head's at. Dave's always thinking about the whores.
I didn't know that this was that kind of show.
That's what he's
That's
known
my
for.
that's my kink. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know.
Well, consider my pearls clutched. Where's it?
Okay, so now,
okay.
what were we looking for?
I thought I had another thing over here, but it's okay. So yeah, same deal. I'm just gonna grab my
boy.
brush. So I'm just gonna use my. I'll make sure. And then any dust in there. I just kind of like get it all into one spot.
Wow.
And it'll be, even if you're kind of mostly working the top screen in kind of one spot with the hash, it just goes everywhere.
Of course. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And so because they're just such light particles.
They float around.
Yeah, and also there's all kinds of interesting kind of like static electricity, like electrostatic interactions that are going on with this because the metal frame and the silk are different charges. This plastic case is also a different charge, and so in particular, like on a cold day in the winter when the air was very dry,
Do you get shocks?
trying to do the 230, I was watching the flower levitate across the top of the screen because the electrostatic things.
That's
and
cool.
and one of the cool things about this is that you can actually use as a final finishing step, which I won't go into in too much detail because it's involved, but it is something I could demonstrate. You actually use static electricity to separate the particles through rubbing. That's what they call static tech for cleaning up ash.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's just another way to separate any of the vegetative matter that is in your kind of range. And most of it's either going to be too small and fall through, or too big and it gets caught on that 230 or the 150. But now that I've got most of the hash all kind of in one spot, using my brush, I always kind of take a second look to make sure that none of the horsehairs have fallen out on this. I'm going to use let me get a fresh glove real quick.
Fresh gloves, this guy. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's because that previous glove was used for the larger
vegetative
stuff.
material.
So it's got larger sized contaminants on it.
Vegetative material.
Hell yeah.
So, and then one of the things that I'll do a lot of times is I'll like if I'm doing this for a long time, this is old guy dry sift. I'm 42, but
You're a young spring chicken.
my hands ain't as young as it used to be. And one issue with dry sifting as a technique for anybody that's going to go out and try it is that it's fairly labor intensive, right? One of the things I recommend is just periodically pause if you've got in a spot and usually I wait till everything's been pushed through the screen so that screen's just acting as like a top layer or something like that. So I'm not worried about dust or anything else getting in. I'll go and I'll like get the water in the faucet as cold as I can, or actually have like ice water basically to cool my hands down because it helps relieve some of the like tension in the joints and stuff, but also it keeps your hands cold. Because the name of the game with hash separation using dry sifting in particular, and then also ice water hash, is keeping everything cold so that the trichome heads don't melt. This is the same thing as not wanting to rupture them with too much mechanical force or any of these other sorts of things. You're just really trying to preserve that trichome. And so your hand heat can be enough to start melting those trichomes. Actually, one of the old hash making tricks for curing your hash was that you would put it basically like in a bag, like a cellophanes or a couple layers of cellophane, and then either put it in your back pocket or classically your shoe, which just always felt I'm too sensorily sensitive to roll around with something like that in my shoe, and I wouldn't want to. I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable serving it out to somebody else after that. But we make do with what we have at the time. But what that's doing is that you're using your body heat to actually slowly melt some of the heads in the finished product, which helps it cure faster. Yeah, because you're releasing some of the terpenes and some of the rosin, some of the other stuff into the general hash mix.
Now, what percentage of that will get through the screen? All of it?
Don't
Most of
spoil it. Don't spoil
Okay,
it. I'm just
yeah,
kidding. I'm just
you
kidding.
know, I mean,
This one actually,
I'm
so
very
because
interested.
I feel like I
can't
see a
wait to see.
shadow underneath already.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
and this step, because this is only grabbing any particles that are between 151 and 230. So, a lot of, I don't find usually a lot of what's left in this is usually those necks, right? And so that's part of the reason that you're doing this process. And it's the same thing where I'm just very lightly rubbing it onto the silk and then giving a couple taps. And what that's also doing is, it's letting any of the trichome heads that are already free fall through the screen, making it so that they can go ahead and sort through. Or you're using mechanical force by rubbing it essentially to break the trichome heads off of those necks. And you end up with
I can see. I mean, you can visually see how much less stuff there is on that tray right now. It's like most of it went through.
Yeah.
It's just that, I guess the heads and necks, once they break apart, they all go through.
Yep.
So
well, and I can
so
tell you,
much.
if if you really wanted to, like, if you're doing this at home and you're just kind of like,
First of all, fuck that. No way. But anyway, go ahead.
I would try it.
you should. It's well, and also honestly,
I like hash.
it's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to do with friends, actually. Like, because I mean, you got to think. So, like, long ways or something.
He's never gonna do this with me.
I will never.
I will hang with you. And we can make hash.
Sick.
Yes.
Nice.
The
Just let me know when it's done.
well, because it is one of those things where it's kind of labor intensive. But you can just sit and smoke joints, and you just pass it back and forth, and you each work on one side of the screen, and you work it down.
Dude, we can compete.
gotta be, like,
See the
surgically
bigger
clean,
pile.
Yeah. Well, and that's so the gloves. You want to be really mindful about hair. Obviously, I have a
How you
beard.
smoking a joint with the gloves on? That's not
Oh,
happening.
you
And
take
you're
it
gonna
off,
stay
you take
clean?
a break. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I can rub with the left hand. Smoke
He's
with the
like,
right.
look, pal.
Not happening. Not happening.
Oh, well, and actually, it's so I'm mentioning all this stuff. So you kind of like in terms of like origin story and what's going on. So obviously, I'm developing a business right now, but one of the big things for me right now is trying to educate the public in New Jersey about hash, right? Because there's a lot that people don't know, right? And sometimes like even online sources, if you were deliberately trying to search things out, it can be very difficult to get answers on things because this is something that was raised up in an illegal market, right? For the longest time, like, and a lot of the, long enough that, there were, the previous generations of hash makers in a lot of countries had died out, right? Like, you've had prohibition, really hard prohibition since like what, the 20s or 30s. So that's almost 100 years, right? And you have people doing it in secret and doing, and you have absolutely amazing, hash makers like Frenchie Cannoli is one of those
Stop
guys.
it.
I love Frenchie.
Frenchie Cannoli.
You know that name?
I don't know that name.
Oh, I thought you like.
I will
got
hear no
excited.
words
That's
against
sick.
Frenchie. He is a saint. That
No,
man.
I just
that
can't
man
believe
has
that
done-
there's a person whose name that can't be his real name.
He says to the guy named Twinkle, like,
Well, that's not your real name.
yes, it is. That's
Really?
the realest name I got, man.
So hold on a second. Is your name like your legal name is Twinkle?
No, hell no.
Oh, well, see, that's what I'm talking about.
It's what my wife calls me though, so I think that counts, right?
Fair enough. That's
Yeah.
that's partial credit.
No, but well, and I've had that name for about 20 years now, so it's one that's stuck with me for a long time.
Right on.
Hold on.
Hold on. I know I have to get ready for the photo op.
Getting chilly. Getting a little chilly in there.
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
Well, hey, it was
dude, he's
by
wearing
request.
a tie-dye shirt.
Yeah.
He's got patchouli on, for sure.
It's in the mix.
It's in the mix. I'm not mad at it. I actually am a fan of that scent. But yeah, and his name is Twinkle.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I'm just saying.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
I've been at this a minute.
the big reveal.
There we go. So
Okay,
Dude,
it looks
I'm-
pretty much like exactly the same amount, almost.
Yeah.
Most of it went through.
Now I'm serious, folks. Fully erect.
Now, this is the end, right? You don't go again.
There's another screen.
Well, oh, that's right. There is
Yeah.
another screen.
So-
oh, shit.
So just like we want to separate out any of the larger plant material,
Yeah.
we also are if we're gonna when you see something labeled full spectrum, right? That is
That was. Never mind. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was going to say,
Go on.
Chris's report card said something about that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, dude,
mine
yeah,
too, bro.
fully.
It's good. No, we'll make
I'm
hash. It's good.
fully on.
I got
the tism. Dude, seriously.
me too, it's
listen,
good.
Dave hates me too. He fucking hates me. He's gonna.
No, it's just the thing is that Anthony's not here, so I got to make jokes about somebody. So
Yeah,
you're the
right,
only
you're
person
right.
here.
That's fine. I'll take it. I'll
You
take
need me to
it.
call somebody?
Blink twice.
I'll blink twice. Yeah, if you're. I don't know.
The
if this
safe
is a
word is-
hostage situation.
The safe word is
Sea cucumber.
We don't have a save.
we don't have a safe word.
You guys need a safe word.
I like it rough.
Sheesh.
I love the abuse.
Okay, so
I
we're
get it
doing
all
the
day at
same
work.
same process. It seems right.
Yeah,
Bringing
same
it all
process.
to
I'm
the-
just using this brush to just kind of gather everything into one spot. Now, so this one, what we're doing.
a hair.
Yeah, so one little brush hair get in there.
It was short and curly.
It was just
Yeah.
a little one.
I call my dick the brush.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the
I
show.
love this. This is
One little brush hair.
I did not know. And yet
Come here
here
and
I
brush your
am.
teeth.
It's very important that you both stay in school and brush your teeth.
Yes.
Those are very, very important things. I learned this as a child
brush
of
your
the
teeth.
80s.
Yes.
So now we've got so what we've got here is everything that basically fell out from 150,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what we haven't done yet is separate out everything that's below 75. So with this, we were going for a range of 75 to 150.
Right.
Mike, because that's going to give us the highest quality kind of cream of the crop of the trichomes. Now, everything that falls through, we're still going to use, right? Like it's still high quality, or there's still a lot of high quality hash in there. It's just we're going to do an additional cleaning step on that to remove some of the really tiny particulate matter. And then it's also, so usually your what they call low mic or mixed mic hash is usually stuff that they've taken. It would be in the 120 to 150 range, mixed with your 45 to 90 or 45 to 75, or 75 is kind of standing in on this, and they basically just mix them together, right? It's usually considered a second grade of hash, but again, if you're just making this stuff at home for yourself, if you're a medical patient that needs concentrates and you can't afford them in the currently 3 times national average Jersey concentrate market, because that's how much the average last I checked, market average was like 35 a gram nationwide.
Okay.
And that's including things like California that throw those numbers way off, right? But Jersey, I think right now it's like average 90 a gram.
Jesus. Wait, $90 a gram for hash, and in its national average is more like 35.
Like 35, yeah.
And
35,
it's
40.
weird
Yep,
when you
welcome
buy
to New Jersey.
concentrates. Like when I buy concentrates from the dispensary, like I have a 3 ounce a month allotment. A gram of concentrates counts as like 3.5 grams or 7 grams towards my allotment for some reason.
Yeah. They just changed that because for the or at least I'm pretty sure that they just changed that because I didn't have a med card before, so I don't know. But what I was given to understand is before they didn't differentiate between different types of hash and flour. Most other states they had where they rolled this out, they had what they call an equivalency table, which is kind of like X number of milligrams of edibles is equal to X percentage gram of a concentrate is equal to X amount of flour, right? New Jersey didn't actually have that for a really long time. I actually pointed that out to some people at a business conference, and the room got very quiet. Because as somebody who's interested in building a business that's primarily based around concentrates, there were like no rules. There was no real, there just wasn't enough in the way of
You fucking narc.
I know.
I knew I didn't like you.
But that's
Ruining it for everybody.
I know. Well, no, not that part. I'm actually
Snitch.
fine with that. Is for me, it was when you have a micro license, for example, and at the time I was developing a micro license, you're allowed to grow X number of pounds of weed, right? Or you're allowed to process X number of pounds of weed, right? And there's usually a limitation to how much you can sell in terms of end product, right? A lot of those rules just weren't there. So we, as somebody who was trying to build a business model for this company, I was just like, literally, you don't have the rules that I need. On top of that, I think, and I have been moving. The last couple, we've been in the process of moving house. So I've unfortunately not been following the state, movements in terms of legislation quite as closely as I would have liked. But I know that they were taking public comment on a whole slew of new kinds of products that they were going to allow in the Jersey market, because up until fairly recently, you really only had, it was like flour, concentrate in in vapes, like in a or disposables or whatever, gummies, chocolates. I think. Were you able to buy chocolates in the dispo? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, I don't think they did have chocolate. No, chocolate's one of the ones that they just put in. Yeah,
Oh, really?
They were like little chocolate bits you can get and you can get gummies at Zen Leaf.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And
well,
mints.
the chocolates, they just, I think that was, I think they introduced the chocolate rules already. And then but now, so they're taking or at least we're taking public comment on stuff like beverages, right? Like we don't.
You can't get anything like that at Zen Leaf.
Yeah, none of them. Yeah, and part of it's I'm sure that a lot of the existing cultivation, the ATC, dispensaries would they'd really love to start making beverages. Now they're gonna probably off or like contract in the actual beverage making, unless I guess they're already doing that stuff in other states, so I presume they've already got brands and stuff for that. Anyway, But yeah, so as somebody whose company, I'm very interested in producing beverages. That's what we were talking earlier
Yeah.
about. Doing like infused.
I also am
cocktails,
interested.
all that stuff.
Yeah, we've tried some really nice beverages recently.
Yeah, we've gotten like beverages. I love beverages, and to tell you
I
what,
love fun drinks.
any
I do too.
you got a beverage, you got a fun beverage, you come see me and
Please.
we'll talk about it. I
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
same.
as much as I'm willing to say. But yeah,
Yeah.
with regards to, I think that there's a just as you open this up by talking about how there's certainly a burgeoning marketplace in the cannabis industry. I believe that there's a burgeoning marketplace in the cannabis beverage.
100%.
Cannabis beverages.
I can tell you that it's at least the last I looked, it's because now partially this is a result of it starting so small, but it was the fastest growing market segment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
beverages.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because and I think that's one that is going to skyrocket.
Love it.
And every kind of like market analysis that I've seen is kind of agreed. And a lot of it, again, it's that whole thing. A lot of people now they're more health conscious, especially a lot of the younger generation that's coming up. You've got we still tend to think of Gen Z or whatever as being like kids, but no, they're all in their 20s, man, or most of them are now. And so, and that generation has repeatedly chosen cannabis over alcohol, certainly over tobacco, right? Like they don't smoke cigarettes. Like
I don't see
any
a lot of
previous
people
generation.
smoking cigarettes. I see a lot of old heads smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Cigarettes
They all
are
think it's
out.
gross. Yeah. And
They smell like shit.
yeah. Well, now that generation has, a lot of them have embraced like vapes and stuff like that, which I'm,
A lot of them have embraced lung cancer.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Shout to lung cancer.
Yes. Big ups. Big ups, lung cancer.
All right, so he's got the horse hair
On that
brush.
note, I was like, so I've got the horsehair brush. So the last, kind of the last thing that I'm going to do with this is, like I said, just kind of like gather it and then same speed. You just kind of like very gently, like kind of massage the trichomes on through. And
Like
what
happy little trees.
like happy little trees, yeah.
Happy
I
little
would
balls
love,
of wax.
If I can only be the Bob Ross of hash, I'm
You
like very
could.
in for
I
that.
mean, never say never.
I want pet squirrels so bad.
Dude, I want a pet
Famously.
raccoon.
I'll show you a picture. I rescued a possum.
Oh,
Yeah,
sick.
I'll show you a
not
picture
a-
of me,
it's
me
not the
with my
same
possum.
thing.
His name was Emilio.
Aw.
Yeah, there's a story there. I can't tell the whole one, but I'll
Fair.
really, but I'll show you Emilio. He was
You don't
very
like
cute.
critters, Dave?
A possum is way different from a raccoon.
They're
too.
adorable.
No, they're not. A possum?
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
No, you're thinking
For
of
sure.
something else.
Have you ever seen a baby opossum?
Even still a baby, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But dude, raccoons are.
Raccoon would
I
be a
wanna-
cool
I
pet.
wanna
If you
kiss
could
a
like raise a
raccoon.
raccoon from a baby
Yeah.
and it's like not wild in any way, raccoon would be a dope pet.
Yeah.
That I agree with you there.
You can like cuddle them, and they're so.
They got their little hands. They can like pick things up.
You can
Yeah.
almost like shake its hand.
They're pretty smart, right? Raccoons. Yeah, they can do some stuff around the house.
You're putting him to work. I'm just trying.
I'm just saying like they could do fun things.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
different stuff. Like they could like get something out of the cabinet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
Will it pack my bong? I would really. Or
Ooh,
more
I don't
importantly,
know.
will the raccoon clean my bong? Because I would love
Definitely
to
not.
offshore
No.
that like. Is that at all
He's trying to
possible?
outsource cleaning his
Outsource my
bong to a
bong
raccoon.
cleaning. Yeah.
We do not condone
Raccoons.
raccoon labor. There's,
Right.
There's definitely animal
We draw
labor
lines.
laws.
No,
We draw lines.
Yeah, we draw lines.
Okay, so
So-
this is going through to the next screen, and the stuff on the next screen is the goal. That's what we want. That's what we're collecting.
The stuff on this screen is the goal. So this is where things switch. So what we've done is we've now
son of a
like
bitch.
rubbed it around and given it,
Rub it some
lots of
more.
good tappies and kind of just I like
Oh,
to use a
yeah.
little bit of vibration to kind of just knock them through. The other thing that'll happen, and I was kind of explaining this to you because I'd asked y'all about the air conditioning situation. Just having worked in studios before, they have a tendency to get, oh no, it's lovely, you guys nailed it, yeah. Having worked in a studio before, they get hot sometimes, right? One of the problems, again, all this has to be kept cold because if those trichomes start to melt, they'll not only will it distort the size of the trichome, so you might lose it. The other part is that they'll start gumming up the screen, and then nothing can get through that hole anymore, right? And a lot of times it'll end up grabbing onto other trichomes that are going by. You end up losing more. So Get this guy kind of like collected together.
Just brushing it
Just
around.
gonna give it, yeah, just kind of like and if it kind of periodically I'll go all the way out to the edges to just make sure that anything because the particles are so light and because the particles are so light and because of those electrostatic kind of interactions, they can sometimes float surprisingly far with like very little force.
Yeah. They're all over Chris's glasses right now.
Are they really?
Yeah, your whole thing is... No, I'm just kidding.
You're just you are trichomid.
Before my glasses were full of pollen.
I believe it. It's been rough.
Hey, since we talked about lung cancer and a bunch of other depressing things, do you
Oh,
want to
boy.
talk about a depressing aspect of the cannabis industry?
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Well, just since we're talking about
Hit
dust
us
and all
with
that
it.
other stuff, one of the other things that that I'm very concerned about as somebody who's interested in building a facility, in particular for doing solventless productions. You can see, like, if I was doing this in a commercial capacity, I'd have a respirator on, right,
Sure.
to ensure that I'm not constantly breathing dust. This is a small amount. You and I'll be fine. But
Will I though? I didn't sign
Like-
a waiver.
Uh-oh.
oh no.
But
you didn't,
what's
you
the
didn't
worst
make him
that
sign a
What's
waiver?
the worst that could happen?
We got this.
You didn't
guy's
make him sign the
info, right?
waiver?
We got this guy's info.
How'd you
We're
let him
good.
on our show?
That's a good
Whoa,
call.
whoa! Did I just get fired?
Yes. Hostile
Fucking
takeover.
pricks.
The twist.
Yeah, it's gonna cost you a lot of fucking money.
Okay, so let's get this. Yeah. So once you kind of got it all like kind of gathered and I like this a lot of times it really is just a little bit by feel. And what it is once you've kind of like gotten most of the really little trichomes out, it'll start to feel really like wet, kind of like wet sand, right? And that's that you've gotten enough of the vegetative matter out that any of the trichomes that are kind of like a little gooey or a little ooey, they're starting to like kind of, those guys will start to kind of stick together without the vegetative matter to kind of dry things up.
And you're saying that vegetative matter will fall through here?
Yeah. Well, anything that's smaller than 75 micron is going to fall through this guy. And that's, so the final part, so this is actually
Is
kind
that
of
blonde hash?
It's pretty blonde to me. I mean, a lot of that comes down, the trichome color, some of that has to do with the blonde hash. Some of that has to do with cure, but for the most part, they do the same cure on it. A lot of it comes down to the strain, right? And it's not always necessarily, like when they're talking about like Lebanese blonde hash, they at least now they're working with like mixed sativa indica like hybrid crosses and stuff like that. But there's like kind of like there's landrace strains from that area. And again, I'm saying all of these things and I feel like I'm saying the right thing. Any cultivator will school me on how wrong I am, and please do. But my understanding of it, and having worked with a lot of kind of like flowers that lean more into indica style genetics where they have that higher myrcene, humulene, CBN, CBD kind of thing. Your sleepy strains. Those do tend to have just darker trichomes, right? And the resultant hash just tends to be darker. I
Okay.
did one with Black Mamba, and I didn't heat it any differently. I didn't do anything with it. It was dark, real dark. And it's just because it's very rich in those kind of like, and I'm assuming it has something to do with the terpenes themselves, perhaps, are a little bit darker or some, and some of it, I think, usually you're dealing with more, I think, decarboxylation with like the CBD and CBN. So that I think you can get some darkness. I may be speaking out of depth at this point. I'm going to focus back on the hash. But once, so this would be kind of like the cream of our crop. And then all you do really with this from dry sift is just, you can actually smoke it right as it is, right?
Nice.
Yeah, but it tends to be a little harsh, if it's had an opportunity to cure, either just as like just loose hash like this, that's just been cleaned up, that can make for a nicer smoke. Or what I usually do is I'll brick it up. And bricking it up, involves using just pressure usually inside of a mold. And that pressure, when a system is under pressure, the existing heat there does more work. That's, how you have like if you have like a tank that heats up and then explodes, right? It's that whole kind of thing. so just having that pressure in there is enough to melt some of the trichome heads and gets it all kind of like glommed together. And so you can do a very, that's what they call cold pressing hash, right? The only issue with cold pressing hash is that it takes a lot longer to cure, right? It is cold curing is the best way to preserve the terpenes and the cannabinoids that are in the original product. So generally that's what most people do, right? It's just that, you're going to be waiting probably about 3 weeks for your hash to actually like go through all the stages to get to where it needs to be.
Cool.
If I want hash for right now or in 3 to 5 days or something like that, a lot of times I'll use a low heat press. And I'm just using the same, hydraulic heated plate press that I use for pressing flower rosin, or that you use for doing any of the other kind of separation stuff. But yeah, just that and cellophane basically to kind of brick it up.
I want to do a segment on a press one day soon. I want to have you
cool.
back if you'll.
I would love to.
If you'll
Absolutely
have us.
Yeah. I would love to. Well, and the press is it's the more I use it, the more I realize different things with hash making that I can use it for.
Is it a nug smasher?
I have the low rent. I got and it's actually the one that I would still recommend to most people. I have a Dually Tech 7-ton.
Okay.
Manual. The major
manual. He's a real man.
You can see he's working with his hands over here.
It starts to get I have to say especially if I'm doing a run where I've got 15 bags. Yeah, my right arm is tired. Even switching off, my arms are tired by the end of it. I cannot, but and there are advantages to having the automatic one. I didn't spring for it, right? But either which way, the one upgrade that you really do want to get for that is a pressure gauge, platen pressure gauge, because that's a more accurate way to gauge how much pressure you're actually applying to the bags, or to something like this.
Yeah.
So
stay tuned because that's going to be another segment.
There you go. Love it.
But yeah, so we've done our sift. So we've gotten this down on the 75. So anything that's smaller than 75's already fallen through, and so you can see. I'll just kind of cock that off to the side.
And you don't want that.
Oh no, we absolutely want this.
Yeah. What's that? Okay. What happens with that?
So this is going to be your 45 or your 46 to 75.
Dude,
46 to 75. That's the stuff that Chris, you gonna blow some up your nose?
I would do a line of that right
now. It's a very fine particle, right? And it does it. And that's why like I said, it's oftentimes counted as a second or lower grade of hash, lower mic stuff. But actually, if somebody uses cannabis medicinally, I actually really love low mic hash for my own use because it tends to be the immature trichomes, right? Well, those immature trichomes are going to be the ones that have the most of the mother cannabinoid, which is CBG, cannabigerol, which is one of the cannabinoids that I'm most interested in terms of when I'm looking for my smoke, and in particular for the morning, afternoon. I really like cannabis as a focus medicine. And so, having high CBG, high limonene, like alpha-pinene, there's you see different profiles with these kind of more up strains. But a lot of those terpenes, the terpene content, and then a lot of that CBG is going to be in these immature trichomes that have fallen through. Because that's really the cannabinoid that starts the chain that leads up to THC, CBD, CBN. Right? Those are all kind of like downstream, post products of or that are produced later in the trichome's maturity.
Now to smoke that, you don't want to hit that with a live fire, right? You want to heat that with a dab rig or. This I would not dab. So this is still actually not clean enough to dab. What I would do with this, so if you wanted to get either one of these clean enough that you could dab it, you would use what's called static tech. And that was what I mentioned earlier, where you're using electrostatic force to separate the trichomes from the vegetative matter.
because the trichomes and the vegetative matter are actually different charges. Like one's positively charged, the other one's negatively. And so you use, there's a couple of different techniques. Some of them involve parchment paper and like a plastic, like a CD case was one of the things that people were using really early on. But a CD case or like a, was almost like a paint scraper, kind of like the plastic paint scraper. You can use those to, or what a lot of people are using, these just plastic cards, right? For the longest time, everybody's just using, and still a lot of people are still just using these plastic cards directly on the screens. And this is with the whole microplastics, one of the things I've been kind of concerned about. That's why I kind of just stick to the gloves and the brush. I'll use like a sheet of plastic at the very end just to like scoop it up, right? Like that's, to harvest basically off the screens. But I don't want to be working a plastic thing back and forth on the screens and potentially introducing microplastics.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, cheers. Yeah. I mean, it's well, and that was something that like I'd used cards before. It just hadn't really. That hadn't sunk in, right? But I'm a scientist. Like my degree's in biochemistry. I worked as a antimicrobial claims testing microbiologist. Like I ran anatomy and physiology lab, and
We're a bit of a scientists ourselves.
I can
Oh,
tell. Yeah, this is
We're men of science.
you are men of science,
Yes.
men
Thank you.
of philosophy, and really truly just men of the community.
And good
I
taste,
appreciate
yes.
you both. Yes, yeah, men of good taste.
And, and humility.
And humility, yeah. Yes. But yeah, so the wait, I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about. I lost
I'm
my
so
damn
sorry.
track. Oh no, it's good. It's good. It's good. I love this.
Oh, it's time for Chris to pee.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, we're going to take a quick
I
break.
lasted more than an hour.
You
You
did great.
did much more. So from here, it's pretty much just about collection, right? And then what however you're gonna treat it afterwards.
Yeah.
So go
yeah.
ahead.
So really,
Sorry.
collection. The trichomes and the two kind of bands that we're primarily holding on to, which is the 75 to 150, and then the 45 to 75. We'll collect those, kind of the same way. Like I said, I'll usually either kind of puck them up into a brick using the press. Or you can just, you can smoke it right here. And this is one of the big advantages of dry sifting for the home hash maker over a method like bubble hash. When you wash flour, you then have to let your hash dry out. And that can take a couple of weeks. You've got potential for introduction of mold, unless you have a freeze dryer, which is like $4,000 to $8,000, right? So dry sift, these screens cost, my full set, and I even sprung for the extra nice, the extras was like, it's like $250, right? Like,
Nice.
And really, once you've done this sifting, we can smoke this right now. It'll be great.
Right.
It's good to go.
Sick.
Yeah.
Nice.
The only thing that I will say is that in my experience, dry sifting is not the best method for pre-preparing if you're then planning on going on to like pressing rosin. Generally, bubble hash seems to do better than that. And I think it has to do actually with that higher moisture content. But anyway, but outside of that, if you want to make absolutely fantastic old school Afghani Moroccan style, sifted hash. If you want to take this, you can take this hash. And one of the nice things about this is because you've concentrated, it actually gives you as a home consumer a little bit of a better idea of if you're going to use it for like edibles or something like that. And some people are like, well, this is like high quality hash. Why would I make edibles out of it? It's like, well, you'll make incredible edibles.
You
Right?
can make
Like,
edibles out of that right there.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Really
Nice,
good ones too. If you're if you're anywhere in a market where they have hash as a cult, like hash labs operating, like California, Washington, Oregon or Maine, any of these places, they have hash and hash rosin, live hash rosin edibles right on the dispo shelves, right?
Nice.
And the difference in quality in terms of the flavor over what they usually use in a lot of the kind of commercially produced edibles, which is just relatively low quality distillates, or what we were all making back in the day when we were cooking weed into butter and making brownies and shit.
Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Well, there's a reason that those got you so tired back in the day. It's because you very heavily decarboxylated all of the THC. A lot of it's turned to CBD and CBN. Because
But I thought you had to decarb it.
you have to so you're decarbing. Forgive me. So you're decarbing from THCA to THC. The problem is that if you degrade your THC further, you're getting down into CBD and CBN, getting higher CBD and higher CBN.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you just had to be careful.
Yeah.
I guess most people didn't really know that, the finer points of it.
It's well, and that's that's the whole when I was mentioning the CBG being the mother cannabinoid, that's the start of that chain. It's like, as they're flowing through, and the plant at maturity will just have, naturally have different levels of these. If it's just, if you're just talking about the dry flower, and that's why, when you look at your, lab analysis on the back of the flower you bought, it tells you, your CBD and CBN counts, and it'll be different from strain to strain.
Got it.
Nice.
Yeah. Makes fantastic edibles, really good flavor, and less of the bitterness that a lot of times you get if
Yeah,
you're just
for
directly
sure, yeah.
infusing flower. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's rad.
Once again, thank you very much for
Thank
that
you.
that demonstration. Really, really appreciate it.
That was a really cool demo.
Thank you.
That was a really cool demo. And honestly, I would love to have you back. And I think I speak for both of us to do different style demos if you're into it.
I would love to. It'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I agree.
I'd be hyped
I
for
agree.
that.
That would
Seems
be
like there's
awesome.
a lot of different avenues, and I'd like to explore.
Yeah,
Well-
let's do some arts and crafts.
Yeah.
I will bring
Let's do
the macaroni.
in studio experimente.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be
Set them
nice.
up right there in front of the black screen.
There you go. Get a lab coat.
Oh, there you go.
Be rocking and rolling.
There you
Dude,
go.
you need a lab coat.
I'm
We'll
trying
get
to
you
think
a
if I
we'll
have
Get a
you
one.
one.
tie dye.
I was like,
A
do I have-
tie dye lab coat would be incredible. That would be
Yes,
incredible.
I'll work on that. I'll work on that.
So before we let you go, is there anything else? Because I know you got a couple other things going on. Is there anything else that you wanted to just plug real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
tell the people where they can find you. Plug whatever they got.
Please, thank you. I appreciate it. So my name's Twinkle. I'm with Saga, or I'm currently in the process of developing Saga extracts. You can find us on the web. Our site is currently under development, but should be up in the next week or two. That's going to be at sagaextracts.com. Our IG is at Saga, SAGA extracts, EXTRACTS. And I would, if you're able to come check out, the content on there is relatively minimal right now, mostly because we're getting set up to primarily use that IG for promoting educational events that I'm going to be throwing specifically. I'm very interested in, like I said, there aren't really good avenues for people to learn how to make hash in New Jersey right now. I want to help try to provide those avenues, partially because I need employees. Once this thing's up off the ground, I got to be able to hire people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And in the meantime, it's an opportunity also to introduce the community. Like, if there are people that are, medical patients in the community that need concentrates and they can't afford $90 a gram, right? But, they have access, even if you're taking, dispo flour, and processing that down, you'll still, generally your end cost will be better. It's mostly, can you get flour that's good enough that makes it worthwhile?
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit of a struggle there. But either which way, these techniques are ones that are, you saw this is very low tech, right? Anybody can do this in their kitchen.
Yeah.
And that makes it so that, because what's important to me is the medical patients be able to access the medicine that they need, and if they can't get it, from the existing licensed market, learning how to make it for themselves, there are whole product categories that are common in other states that are designed around helping people with various different medical conditions that have just never even arrived here. Right. If you can make it at home and you can separate out the hash and you can do the infusion, you can do your own decarboxylation, you can go make that medicine for yourself. Right.
Nice.
Sick.
So you're doing classes, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing classes. So if you check out the Instagram, follow us on there. We're going to be doing announcements for classes all up and down the Jersey Shore. I'm looking at about 3 different locations right now.
Nice.
A couple of which are quite pastoral too. Actually, it'd be nice. Literally, there'll be nice places to just hang out and make hash.
Awesome.
And then, so there's the hash classes. We're also looking at we're going to be running some different other styles of events where we're, trying to bring the cannabis community together on different things, and sometimes just for entertainment.
Hell yeah.
We've got, some ideas for, ones that cross over with the world's most famous role-playing game, for example, that I won't mention because I don't want to get maybe
Fair enough.
D&D associated with weed. Anyway, Dungeons and Dragons, fine anyway. But yeah, so we're, that's just one amongst we've got a bunch of different, artists, performers of various different stripes that, that are interested in doing some new and interesting things with, the whole kind of like cannabis event thing, right?
Well, keep us posted
Yeah,
when
please.
stuff like this comes up.
Absolutely.
We always say that we'd love to shout out anything that you're doing. Keep people abreast of all the fun things. So keep us in mind when you're ready to tell people about these events that are coming up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
for
y'all
sure.
having me on. This has
Yeah,
been a
dude,
lot of
seriously.
fun. This has been
It was
a lot of fun.
lot
Thank you
of
for
fun.
coming
Yeah,
in. It was a blast.
really cool. Yeah, that was a really cool demo. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Really
And
appreciate you guys.
Very cool.
You're part of the Clouded family now.
Yes.
The door is always open for you.
Appreciate it.
Seriously.
Thank you. I really do appreciate
We're
it.
definitely going to have you back for more.
I'm
for
hyped
more.
for it too. Like I'm genuinely excited for that. It's gonna be
Cool.
really cool. Yeah. I'm
Cool.
hyped.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Guys, thank you very much. Check us out on YouTube at the Two Clouded Mind Show. We are all over social media at the Two Clouded Mind Show. If you don't want to watch us and you want to listen to us, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to stalk us individually, get this. So I'm now at Chris_is_not funny.
DC in the City on all social media.
Yeah. Guys, until next time, we'll see you next week. Stay clouded.